This episode is mainly for wedding bands or wedding suppliers in general. If you'd like some help on answering emails better or improving your website to get more leads, then stick around. Today's guest is Alan Berg. He's an international expert on the business of weddings and events. You might have heard of him before. And although the episode seems a little bit long at 50 minutes, it's full of some great advice and tips from Alan. I'd love if you could share this with other wedding suppliers as well, or tag them in the comments below. Let's get into the show. Alan, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Big fan here from Ireland. I was saying earlier on, I even have your old DVDs here that I bought back in the day.
As they say back in the day.
Yeah. How are you? You're based in New Jersey. How's things looking over there with the whole pandemic and weddings and everything?
You know, we're feeling cautiously optimistic. My wife and I have been able to get vaccinated, and we've had both doses, so we're feeling good about that.
That's good, yeah.
We're, not venturing out much more. New Jersey was good or bad about the lockdown, however you want to put that. So, around here, things are pretty good. It's, the new normal is going into a store with a mask on, and that's what it is. And we don't have some of the crazies here like you see on the news complaining. That's not happening here. But it's cautiously optimistic. I have some events, live events coming up, conferences starting in June. So I told them, plan on me coming, but I'll let you know when it gets closer.
Fingers crossed.
Well, right now, President Biden said that every American should be vaccinated by the end of May, everybody who wants one. And that they're opening it up to everyone starting May 1st. So right now it's healthcare workers and people over 65. And if you're 16 to 64 with a pre-existing condition, which fortunately or unfortunately is my wife and I, probably the only advantage of a pre-existing condition is we got vaccinated. But then they're opening it up to everybody over 16 starting May 1st. So if not sooner. So it's good. It feels better. The industry feels better here.
Yeah. We're on the other side now.
It feels like we're on the downward slope, but we're not out of the woods yet. So again,
that's cautiously
optimistic.
That's why I'd love to have you on today, because over here we're still a little bit in limbo because we've no end date. So a lot of suppliers are sitting at home, and they probably could do with some help on the sales side, at least get that part of the business working. So going from your stuff, I was thinking if we started with website, what would be the number one mistake you would find when you're doing a website consultation with wedding suppliers or wedding bands in general?
The lowest hanging fruit that I see when it comes to websites is the lack of calls to action. Because there's 4 things you basically want on every page. You want to have an aspirational image. So if you're a wedding band, it's not the band, because the couple doesn't aspire to be like the band. Yeah. Nobody hires a band because they want a band. They hire a band because they're having a wedding, because they want their guests to have a great time and go down the line there. Yeah. There's an old adage, nobody ever needs a drill bit. Yeah. They need to make a hole. Yeah. Right? And then they make a hole because they want to do something. So I have a cork board hanging here with family photos. Well, I needed a drill and a drill bit to make a hole, to put a hanger to hang the cork board so I could put the photos, so that right now I can go and look, right? Yeah. So why do I need a band? I don't need a band because I need a band. I need a band because I want to celebrate the fact that I'm getting married for the first or the last time, maybe not the first time, but the last time, right? So that you want to have, my favorite picture of a band is either from behind the packed dance floor and you see the band in the back, or kind of from an angle where you see the band over here and then I see the packed dance floor. So show me the results of hiring you. The second thing is talk to me about the results. So don't say that, our band has this much experience and we've done this and we've done that. It's like, great. What are you going to do for me? Yeah. So you want to look for the words you and your. So it's, when you hire our band for your wedding or event, you and your guests will have, right, the you, the you voice. The third thing is the social proof. So have short reviews and testimonials from people that have already hired you, because your brand is what they say. Your branding is your colors, your logo, things like that. But your brand is what they say about you after they've done business. But the key, Brian, is it needs to be short.
Yeah.
like a speed hump in the road. It needs to be just a little line so that I'll slow down, I'll read it, I'll keep going. And then the fourth thing is the calls to action. So when I look at websites, I see pictures. They're not always the ones I want to see, but there's pictures. There's words. They're not always using the you voice. I rarely see testimonials sprinkled throughout the pages. They're usually buried on some other page or at the bottom of a page. And if they're on some other page, nobody's looking at it.
Yeah.
Because testimonial pages are some of the least viewed pages on websites. Because I know that you only took the best things anybody ever said about you and put them on that page. So why am I going to go into your love fest room here? All right. So, or they're at the bottom of the page. And how often do you go to the bottom of a page, especially on mobile, right? So, but the call to action, if you think about it, nobody can ever see an entire web page at once unless that's what fits on a screen and that's it, which occasionally you get to somebody's homepage and that's it. But, remember when they used to do that, some people still do that welcome page?
Yeah.
You get there and it's just, that's it.
An enter
right?
button, yeah.
Right. That's like walking in someone's door and there's another door, right? It's like, aren't I in?
Yeah.
I'm not in. Okay. I have to keep going.
Click again. Yeah.
So, well, you don't need those anymore because that was when bandwidth was very, very low and you wanted to know you got to the website. So you wanted the homepage to let it load quickly. So the call to action should be, if you've shown me the results, if you've talked to me about the results, if you've put the testimonial that speaks to the results, now tell me what to do to get those. So if you'd like to check our availability, get a quote or meet with us about your wedding, corporate event, whatever it is that you're doing, call us, email us, text us, fill out this form, whatever it is. Tell me what to do and then make it easy. So I see dead ends, which is you tell me how great it's going to be and then that's it. There's no now what? What should I do now? So that call to action, the reason I say it's the lowest hanging fruit is because it's just text. Yeah. Just put a sentence with the links, but not just once. Put it on the page. So show me some talk about some stuff. Tell me where else to go within the site. If you want to find out more about weddings, I can click that to go to weddings or corporate or over here or whatever it is, right? And then if it's call, I click and I can dial you. If it's email, I click, it opens an email. If I say contact, I go to your contact. If it's text, I go to text or WhatsApp or whatever it is. So that's the easiest thing because you could put that throughout the page. I have some pages on my website that have 10, 11, 12 calls to action. Yeah. But you can't see them all. You can only ever see one.
But they're there.
And then you scroll.
Yeah.
But you scroll and then it is again. And then you scroll and there it is again. And then you scroll and there it is again. So that's probably the number one thing. And it's something everybody listening to this can do. If you manage your own website, you know how to add text and you know how to add a link. That's it. Just do it.
So instead of just a contact page on the website, sprinkle your contact details everywhere.
Right. Well, you want the contact page, and on your top navigation menu, it should be the top thing on the right. Because if you go to a website and you just wanted to contact someone, you just wanted the contact information, where are you going to look? To the top right. Yeah. That's where it's going to be. So put it there. Don't put it. I saw this website one time, Brian. I'm looking and it said about, contact, gallery, home. And I was a photographer. And I said, I'm just curious, how did you come up with that order? And very proudly, he goes, they're alphabetical. Oh. I said, no, I understand that, but why is contact the second thing from the left? You think it should be on the right. And why is home the fourth thing in the middle? It should be on, right? So that's adding friction. That's just adding friction to it. So I have a contact form on just about every page of my website. I don't have it on the home page. I felt that was a little forward. That's like, somebody walks in, it's like, you want to buy now? And I was like, oh, I just got here. So I do have links to contact me, but I don't have the form. But you go to any other page and there's a form. And then the call to action says, call. If you click, you can dial. Text, click, it'll open a text. Email, it'll open an email. Or use the short form on this page. And that's a link. And no matter where you are on the page, it'll take you up or down to wherever that form is. Yeah. So, but then it's going to say it again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah. It's just have your contact details where people can find them without having to look too hard.
Right.
Yeah.
But not just the details. Tell me why. So people are going to take action because they want the result. If you say phone, email, right? That's just data. Yeah. But if you say, if you'd like to see about how much fun we can bring to your wedding with our band, or check availability, get a price quote, tell me why I'm contacting you,
Yeah.
then they'll click. And this is why you don't want to have a button that says book us now unless it's going to take me to a booking page.
Yeah.
If it's going to just take me to a contact page, what you've done is you've added friction, because that's a very high commitment, right? Book us now.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I-
Well, you
if-
expect
if
the
I'm not
form to put to come up and pay a deposit.
Right. Exactly. And if that's not what it is, then you're actually misleading me, because that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you want to say, if I click this button, what'll happen? I have a book on my bookshelf here. It's called Waiting for Your Cat to Bark. And it's a marketing book. And they say that if you think about the buttons on your site as questions that get answered when you click on them, people want to get the answer to the question. So if the thing is, if it says, wedding information, oh, okay, that's where I'm going to get wedding info. But a lot of times I click on wedding and I go to a gallery.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't say wedding photos. It said wedding info, or it just said wedding. And book us now goes to contact us. Well, I'm not booking you now, so don't say that.
Yeah.
So tell me, and buttons are important, by the way, because more people are looking on mobile probably than desktop. So you want to have a bigger target, because it's either a stylus or it's your finger or a knuckle. That's how you're clicking. So you want to make it easier to click on mobile.
Yeah. Should your pricing be on the website? I suppose that's a popular question.
It is a big one. A website here in the States, a big website called Wedding Wire, surveyed their couples. And it said that 88% were looking for price before they even reach out to you. And it makes sense. If you're a customer and I'm a customer, we're looking for price on a website. So it makes sense. So there's 4 ways you can handle price, which I've spoken about in my books. So you probably have it there on those DVDs if you go back and watch. So 4 ways you could talk about price. One is, if you can tell them the price, if there is no variable on that price, tell them and then ask for the sale. So let's say you had on your site that they could add on to your band, they could add a piper, okay? And this is how much it is for a piper. It's not, there's no range. It's just like, this is how much we're going to bring a piper to your ceremony. It's going to be whatever the number is, the €300, whatever the number is. And then you would say, if you would like to check availability and book the piper for your wedding, call, email, contact us. The price is there. You get that inquiry. Price should not be an issue. They know how much it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Usually we can't do that. Now, you might be able to do that as an upsell. If somebody you've already booked comes back to you and says, hey, Brian, we were looking around. We thought we had a piper. We can't find a piper. Can you get us a piper? You can say, yes, absolutely. In an email, the piper is going to be €300. Would you like me to, get that reserved for you?
Yeah.
Ask for the sale.
Yeah.
Okay. The number 2 way is not to tell them yet. The challenge is we know they're looking for price. So if you're not going to tell them yet, you want to still get the inquiry. Now, or maybe you've gotten the inquiry, and how do you answer that? So here's the challenge. You want them to make the inquiry. You don't tell them yet. So you want to say something to the effect of this. If you'd like to get pricing information, we'd be more than happy to give it to you. Since we don't have your details yet, it's hard for us to give you a price. And we want to make sure that we don't leave out anything that's important to you and the success of your wedding. And we certainly wouldn't want you to pay for anything that you don't need. So to get a price quote, call us, email us, contact us, use this form, whatever it is. If it was in an email, if you got an inquiry, it would say the same thing. Shaban, thanks so much for reaching out. We'd love to give you an amazing, price for bringing our great band to your wedding. Since we don't have the details, we can't give you an exact price yet, but we want to give you one and make sure we don't leave out anything that's important to you or charge you for anything you don't need. And then you would ask her one question or him one question. And that question is a low commitment question. It's not, when do you want to have a phone call, or when do you want to come and meet me, or what's your budget?
Yeah.
Because they're going to lie. The third way to talk about price is a starting price. I really don't like to use that unless there isn't a big range.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody asked you about having a classical quartet for their ceremony, right? They want to have strings for their ceremony. And you know that, there's not much of a variance, so is it 3 pieces or 4? Or maybe if I bring in a viola instead of a violin, maybe it'll cost me 50 quid more, right? Something like that. So you can say, well, that starts at this.
Yeah.
Right? Because there isn't a big range over there. But usually there is. right? Like with a wedding band, you know,
Yeah.
do they want 5 pieces, 7 pieces, 10 pieces? Do I need a horn section, right? What do I need over here? So the price range is the fourth way to talk about price, which is my favorite way to do it. Because if you've been doing this for a while, so unless you're a brand new business, if you've been doing this for a while, you know what the range is of the people that have hired you. So just look at all the weddings you had, you know, coming up, or, you know, scroll back to 2019 and look at a real year and see. But you'll find low to high, and you might leave the low out because, you know, it was too low. It was a cousin's friend on a Tuesday, you know, or something like that. And you might leave the high out because somebody just booked everything you had and then more, right? And that's not the real thing. And then you have a range. And then within that range, you'll say, well, typically, you know, I could do anywhere from 3 pieces to 12 pieces, but typically most people are doing between 5 and 7 pieces. Therefore, this is our full range, and this is the range of what most people actually do. So again, I'm just going to use totally off the ball numbers, but you could say we go from 1,000 to 10,000, with most of our couples being between 3 and 4. And I'm just making numbers up here, right? Something like that. And that'd be a true statement. That's a true statement. So on your website, instead of saying, here are our prices, right, you could say that bands for weddings range between 1,000 and 10,000 euro, with most of our couples ending up between 3 and 4, right? To get an exact price quote and check our availability for your wedding, call us, email us, contact us.
Yeah.
And there's a level of transparency there. So here's what's going to happen. If you add pricing to a site that doesn't have it now, expect your inquiries to go down. Because some people, the ones that shouldn't have been reaching out in the first place, just don't reach out at all. So if somebody thinks they have a 1,500 euro budget and you start at 3,000, maybe they shouldn't reach out.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you start at 3,000 means you're going up. You know, you're more likely wanting 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever the number is. So what it does, though, is it lets you get better inquiries. It lets you have better conversations with those people because they already have, it's called framing. I've already given you kind of the guardrails to say, this is our range. Here's our range. If you have some budget within that range, contact me. Now, you still may not book those people. They still might be looking for a 10-piece band on a 5-piece budget, right? But at least they're somewhere within there. You risk losing the person who thinks their budget's lower, can't find something within their budget, and ends up spending within your budget. You will risk losing those. But if you can fill your calendar with people who already know that they have something within your range, you don't need those other people. You just don't need those. So I always suggest that, since you can't usually just tell them, and I shouldn't say that. I do have some people that say, here's our prices. They don't want to get an inquiry unless you've seen their prices. You will lose leads because some people say, okay, well, now I know what you charge. Let me go find out what other people charge and compare. And you never had a conversation.
Yeah.
So that's what you risk with that. I like the price range because it encourages the inquiry. You want the inquiry, but you also want them to know, hey, we're somewhere within here. And that's why price range is my favorite way. If you're going to put numbers, it's my favorite way to do it.
I've noticed I was looking last night, some of the websites like The Wire, and I think Weddings Online are doing it here now. A lot of the listings, when you open the directory, say from price and then most popular price. You know, it seems to be a thing now. And it is nicer because you can see straight away then, okay, that band is within my budget, you know.
Right. And from is not enough. And that's why most popular price is important to be there, because if you just put the from, you're saying, here's the cheapest thing I have.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And that's not what you want to sell. So unless you leave out the cheapest thing you have and you say from, which is a more realistic number. So again, I'll use my numbers. If it's from 1,000 to 10,000, most people are 3 to 5, and you say from 3, okay, now you're being at least more realistic. But if you say we're 1 to 10, most popular 4, well, now they know it. The important thing for me about range, and I know that a lot of them don't do the range, they do that, you know, from and the most popular. The range shows what you're capable of. So let's say somebody sees a picture and there's a 5-piece band, but they're having a big blowout event and they don't see a picture of a 10-piece band. Well, they don't think you do it, right? And then they'll move on. So it shows me that. But it also makes me feel better about spending 4,000 when I see that it could have been 10, but it didn't have to be for me. Yeah. And that's the framing again. It's like there's a hamburger place here, Wendy's. I don't know if Wendy's is over there,
I've
but
heard of it. Yeah.
yeah. So Wendy's, when they first came out, their big thing was that their hamburger was bigger than McDonald's. McDonald's had the little hamburgers. Wendy's came out with this big hamburger. They eventually came out with a double hamburger, but they didn't sell many. So their marketing person said, well, let's do a triple. And they said, hey, genius, we're not selling any doubles. Why would we come out with a triple? And he's like, because you want to sell doubles. So they come out with a triple, and now you have single, double, triple. And now you and I go there and I go, hey, Brian, I'm not going to get the triple. I'm just going to get the double.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas before it was like, I'm not going to get the single. I'm going to go crazy and get a double, right? Because now you're
It's
going
like
up
the
to that.
pricing table with the one in the middle is the
Exactly.
one
It's called the
people
center
usually-
stage effect.
Yeah.
The Journal of Consumer Psychology calls it the center stage effect, which is if you put three things together, the one in the middle is perceived to be the best value.
Yeah.
If you label it most popular or best value, and you look at a lot of those charts, that center one's a little higher,
Yeah.
right? And then sometimes it has the little, most popular or best value or whatever there. They're saying to people, hey, you don't have to go crazy, but you could. And a lot of my clients find that sometimes somebody comes in and music is the most important thing to them, and they're looking at your chart and they say, okay, most popular is in the middle, but we don't want that. We want better. And we're going with the top one. Yeah. And it wasn't a band, it was a DJ company one time, heard me speaking about this at a conference. The following year, this woman comes up to me at my trade show booth and she gives me a big hug and says, thank you. I was like, what did I do? And she said, you talked to us about having the three prices, the three packages, and having that kitchen sink, just everything in that top package. Mm-hmm. And the first person, after they printed them up nice and gave them names and all, the first person that came bought the top package. And she said, we've never sold anything that much. Yeah. I said, right, you just legitimized the choice. It was right there on paper. So it wasn't like, hey, I'm buying your package. Now what else can I buy? It's like, I bought that package. It was already a choice. And it was the highest dollar sale they've ever had.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the nice things for me about the range on the website too is usually the first email you get is, are you available? How much do you charge? And
right.
then you have to go back. If you go back with a price, you mightn't hear from them again. What would your advice be? Okay, just say we don't have a range on our website yet, and you get an email like that. Should you ever give them the price in the first email, or?
It depends. So there's the two ways that I would respond, since you can't give them a price yet because you don't have the details and you don't want to do the starting price, is to do one of the two. So, Sarah, thanks for reaching out. We'd love to bring amazing music and have your guests say it was the best time they've ever had at a wedding. I don't have the details yet to give you an exact price, and I want to make sure that I don't leave out anything that's important to you or charge you for anything you don't need. So let me get a few details and be happy to give you a price. So I've told you I'm going to tell you. I told you why I didn't tell you yet. I told you I'm going to tell you again, and then I'll ask you a question such as, have you already reserved your venue or are you still working with them? Or how many guests are you expecting? Or are you having both your ceremony and reception at the same location, right? Is it a civil ceremony or is it a church, right? I want to know these things. And whether or not it makes a difference on price, what I'm looking for is I want you to be the first one to reply to them, but I also want you to be the first one to get a reply back. Yeah. And what's important about that is most people, we do a lot of secret shopping, and what most people do is they get an inquiry, they respond with too long of an email that they've copied and pasted, they attach a brochure, and then they ask about having a phone call, right, or a meeting. And there are at least 3, 4, 5 reasons why you're getting ghosted. So they don't reply. It's called getting ghosted, right? You're not getting a reply. So what I want you to do is reply that it fits on one screen of their phone. I want you to ask one low commitment question, telling her that him that we're going to tell you how much. We don't want to leave anything out. We don't want to charge for anything. Okay, that's the first way. The other way to do it is to say, you know what? I want to give them an idea now. And if they're still interested, we'll have the conversation. If not, they'll tell me right away. So, Ciara, thanks for reaching out. We'd love to bring amazing music to your wedding and have your guests say it was the best time they've ever had. Again, talking about results. Our prices for weddings range between, I've got to use my numbers, between $1,000 and $10,000, with most of our couples ending up between 3 and 5. And then you would ask a low commitment question. Again, have you already reserved your venue? Are you still working with them? Yeah. Or you could say, this is our range. 1 to 10, 3 to 5 most popular. does something within their work for your budget? Right? That you could ask that as well. Because the reason they ask how much is a couple of things. One, they don't know how to shop for what you do.
Yeah.
Right? When you're buying something you've bought before, so if you needed a new computer monitor, you would say, well, why do I need a new computer monitor? Did this one break, or do I want a bigger one, or do I need higher resolution? Or, my son who's in finance needed a monitor that could go vertical, right? Like we have horizontal, but he needs, not all monitors do that on the stand, right? So he had his needs. But what if you're hiring a band? You've never hired a band. What do you ask? Right? Like how many strings on the guitar? I mean, what do you ask, right? So you don't know what to ask. So what do you ask? How much does it cost? It doesn't mean that price is the most important factor. And a lot of people make that mistake. Well, they're only shopping for price. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're shopping for a great time for their wedding. They're thinking they want a band instead of, or in addition to a DJ, right? Right, depending upon what they're looking for, in addition to, or instead of a piper, right? All these different options that they could have. So they have a vision of their wedding, and everybody's dancing and having a great time, and they look over and they see a band. Okay, so we need a band. I don't know how to shop for a band, so I'm going to say, could you send me information about packages and pricing?
Yeah,
because that's all they know. Now, I don't want you to avoid the question, because they did ask you a question. But if you notice on Weddings Online, if on Wedding Wire, on places like that, a lot of them have this default text. It's just like, there's the text that says, could you send me package and pricing info? Yeah. And every supplier gets that, whether you're the photographer or the videographer or the florist, everybody gets that same question. So I want you to acknowledge the question, but I don't want you to look at that and say, well, they must be shopping for price. Well, they must only care about price. Well, they only want the cheapest thing that I have. Because you know what? When you're the customer and you ask about price, it doesn't mean you can't afford it. It doesn't mean you want the cheapest thing, right? If you went in, what's your main instrument, Brian?
Well, saxophone and vocals. So saxophone, I suppose. Yeah.
So if you were going to buy a new saxophone, price would not be the most important factor. It would be an important factor, but it would not be the most important factor. Because the first thing is, well, again, why do I need a saxophone? Did mine break? That's a more urgent need than, ooh, did you see that one? Right? I want that one, right? Or, you have an alto sax and you wanted to get a soprano sax. Okay, why do I need a soprano sax? Because I want to do Kenny G, right? Whatever, whatever it is. But you have the needs. Like you can't see it in the picture. I have a DSLR camera. When I went to buy a lens, it had to be a Canon lens. And I needed a 35 millimeter f2.0, right? Yeah. I needed all those things. Okay, I'm shopping for a band. I'm 27 years old. I'm shopping for a band for my wedding. How much is it? Right? That's what they know. Yeah. That's it. So when you get that, I want you to get a response. So if you said, here's the range, most couples end up here, and then you ask them a question, right? So you could say to them, how many pieces for the band were you looking for? But the key is only ask one question.
I've heard you mention that a lot, that you should always include a question in your response.
Yes.
Yeah.
And only one. Only one. And at the end. Okay, so here's why. Why one question? Well, if you and I were having a conversation and I asked you a question, right? Like I asked you just now, what's your main instrument? I didn't then ask you another question. I waited for the answer. Okay. All right. It's also at the end, because if I ask you a question, then I keep talking. So what's your main instrument, Brian? My instrument is the piano, and I like playing the piano, right? You're like, you're going to give me a chance here, right? Going to give me a chance? So it's got to be at the end. And I want to make it its own paragraph. So the reason you ask a question is, if you ask someone a question, then they're more likely to respond. If you end with a period, it's the end of a statement. If you end with an exclamation point, it's the end of an emphatic statement. Right? I'm done here. Boom. Here's my exclamation point. I'm done. So what I want you to do is think about it as a conversation that you would have on the telephone. So if you were talking with someone, you would say, if they said, well, could you give me some information on your pricing? Absolutely. I'd love to give you pricing information. I want to make sure I don't leave out anything that's important to you, and certainly don't want you to pay for anything you don't need. Let me get a few details from you. Have you already reserved your venue, or are you still working with them? I'm done, right? Or how many guests are you expecting at the wedding?
Yeah.
Or are you having both your ceremony and reception at the same location? Or were you looking for us to have music for your ceremony as well as your reception, right? Yeah. But it's one question, one question. And then I want the reason I call it low commitment is they don't have to talk to anybody. Like nobody has to ask their fiance, so are we having our ceremony and reception at the same place?
Yeah.
They know the answer to that.
Yeah.
They know how many guests are we expecting? They've talked about that.
Yeah.
Have we already booked our venue? They know the answer to that. So you don't have to wait for them to get a hold of someone. You're also not attaching anything, no brochures or anything, because the implication is if you send me an email with an attached brochure, which first of all might send it to the spam filter. Second, I may not want to open it because I might think it's spam. But if you do that, the implication is read this. I just sent it to you, so read this. Well, now I open it on my phone and it's a PDF and it got real small, and instead of A4, it's now this size. And so maybe I'll get to it later. Well, that's not what you want. You want them to reply now.
Yeah.
But you're giving them reasons to not reply. So the question is important because the implication of a question is give me an answer. Now, the mistake a lot of people make is the question is, when would you like to have a phone call? Or when would you like to come and meet with us, right? That's the question. And that's a high commitment because I sent you an email. If I wanted to ring you, I could have rang you, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to talk on the phone. And if I wanted to meet with you, I would say, hi, we're getting married and we'd like to set up a meeting with you to talk about it. I would say that.
Yeah.
And occasionally you get that, but it's not usually that. So one question, its own paragraph at the end. Now, what's important, Brian, is start using the BCC function on your email to copy yourself when you email with customers, and then open that on your phone and see how little actually fits on a phone screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know about your monitor, but my monitor is a 27-inch monitor here.
Same here.
And my
27 iMac, yeah.
Right. So my 27-inch monitor, one sentence goes onto mobile and becomes, instead of one line, it becomes 4 lines, 5 lines, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the key for you, is you want to make sure it's fitting on one screen until they write you long. If they write you back long, they will read your long response.
Yeah.
But if they send you sound bites, a word, a phrase, something like that, they're saying to you, don't write me long.
Yeah.
You write me long, I'm not reading it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we've covered website and email tips, and then I suppose the last thing, when it comes to advertising, a lot of people, obviously, we've been out of work for a year. They're probably starting to cut back on advertising or look at their listings on Weddings Online, Google Ads. What would you, if you had a room full of those people in front of you now, what would you say to them?
After I gave them a good slap, advertising that's the petrol, right? That's the diesel. That's the fuel for your business. There's 4 steps to getting more sales. I call it the sales circuit, right? Here's my sales circuit here. So first you get their attention, then they get to make an inquiry, then you have a conversation, then you get to make the sale. So how are you going to get people's attention? How are you going to get them to know you exist? So prior to COVID, unfortunately, we used to get together with people. We used to go to networking events. We used to be at weddings, and we used to see the other suppliers who could refer us, the venues and the planners and other people. We used to, just go have a cup of coffee with some friends in the industry. People refer people they know and they like and they trust. And then you were referred by venues and hotels and places like that. Well, those venues shut down. They're not getting any inquiries. They're not meeting with any couples. Therefore, you're not getting referrals. Or that person no longer works there or got furloughed and can't respond. So some people had that valve turn off of referrals. The thing with advertising is this. And some people don't know my background. So I started out selling wedding advertising for magazines. I published 2 wedding magazines here in the States. I was vice president of sales for the Knot.com, which was the largest wedding website in the world. I've spoken in 14 countries. I've written 5 books about the business of weddings. Okay. So advertising is really about one thing. The job of Weddings Online, the job of the Knot, the job of any of those sites is to get an audience. That's their job. So what they do is they put out content, photos, editorial content, checklists and to-do lists and tools and things. And it's like when you're fishing, it's the bait. because the fish are looking for that bait. So people are saying, hey, we got married. We want to go. How do we do this? So in Ireland, they start Googling, and Weddings Online is going to come up. And they're going to be, oh, look at all this. I have ideas for my wedding design. I have checklists. I can do my guest list. I can do my registry. I can do all my stuff over here. So their job is to get an audience, just like with a wedding show, right? If you're going to go to a wedding fair, their job is to get an audience. That's it. The newspaper, the TV, right? The advertising pays for the newspaper. The advertising pays for television, right? If it's not cable television, regular television, right? But radio, or regular radio, what was it? It's all about the advertising. And the advertising was about the audience. So it's kind of a not exactly the chicken and egg scenario. Weddings Online can get the suppliers to pay because they want the audience. They need to get the audience, so they need to put the content out there. The content goes out, gets the audience, then we get to sell that. So what you want to think about is this. You want to be in front of people when they're looking for someone like you. So if you're a wedding band and you want people to find you when they're looking for wedding bands, so where do they go? That's the first thing you want to do, is ask your couples. So they're likely to go to Weddings Online. They're likely to go to Facebook and Instagram and Google and places. But the thing is, are they looking for you? Like TikTok. A lot of people ask me about TikTok. I say, I have no doubt that your audience is on TikTok, but I don't think they're looking for their wedding band on TikTok.
I don't think so.
I just don't. No. Right. Might they be looking on YouTube? Right? Because they want to see the band. Maybe. Or if you did the right descriptions on your YouTube videos, could you possibly come up in a Google search, since Google owns YouTube, could you possibly come up in a Google search and it'll send you to that? Possibly. So you need to have the right tags and things on there. So what I love about Weddings Online, and again, full disclosure, I've spoken for them. You've probably seen me over there. I've also spoken in Australia for Easy Weddings down there, and I've spoken in Dubai and India and the UK and Mexico and Guatemala and Colombia and whatever. So all of these sites, their job is to get the audience, and that's what they do. Weddings Online is the biggest, busiest wedding website in Ireland. Period. That's what it is. So they have the attention of the audience you want. So I want you to not do to them what your couples do to you, which is somebody calls you, Rory calls you from Weddings Online, and he says, hey, do you want to take a listing? And you say, oh, how much is it? Right? Which is exactly what your couples do.
Rory usually sends me videos, and the title of the video is the question.
The title of the video is the question. There you go. So, but the idea is, your question should not be, well, how much is it? Your question should be, what can you tell me about your audience? And the three things that I look for an audience when I'm working with someone, because I consult to businesses like yours, is geographics. So that's the easy one. So physically, where is your audience, right? Or if you're in Ireland, is it Ireland? But is it Ireland? Is it Northern Ireland? Or is it just Cork, right? The country of Cork is just, right? But where is your audience? You have to know. I'm willing to travel to Donegal. I'm not willing to go to Donegal. I'm willing to go to Belfast. I'm willing to go to, to Antrim, whatever. How far are you willing to go? Second thing is the demographics of your audience. So do you do better with the 21-year-olds, the 28-year-olds, the 35-year-olds, the 45-year-olds, right? What do you know about them? Education, what do you know about them? Demographics. So geographics, then demographics. Demographics is make the avatar of your ideal customer. So you've been doing this long enough and you say, you know what? We do really well with couples who are about 28 years old. They're both college educated and they're from the Dublin area. I'm just making stuff up over here. Well, if you know what you're looking for, you can find more of that. You could put more advertising into the Dublin area. You could say, you could show people that look like them. Don't show the 21-year-olds or the 41-year-olds. Show the 28-year-old couples. And, oh, that looks like us. That's what we're looking for. Psychographics is the third. It's a little bit tougher with, because Weddings Online is the biggest one there. But here in the States, The Knot and Wedding Wire, which are owned by the same company, The Knot is very editorially focused. So when you go to their homepage, it's a lot of articles and photos and design ideas and things. And Wedding Wire has all that, but the first thing you see when you get there is to find your suppliers. So it's a different psychographic. It's a different mindset. So if you do very well with couples who are very into the design and all that kind of stuff, you might do better on The Knot, let's say, than Wedding Wire. It's just, that's the psychographics. So you want to find out as much as you can about that. If somebody came to you to do a wedding fair and you'd say, okay, well, have you done fairs here before? Yes. What can you tell me about your audience? how far do people come from? So let's say you're doing something, there's a fair on St. Stephen's Green. I don't know if they do them outside, but there it is. Or at the Conrad or whatever the hotel is up there, right? How far do they come from? Are they coming in from Galway? Are they coming in from, Kerry? Or how far are they coming from? Because I do business there. Or maybe I don't. It's like, what do I need those people for? I only want the people from here. So find out what they can tell you about it. And then this is the key. You need to get the attention of an audience. I had somebody the other day, and he's just not getting enough traffic to his website. He's not getting enough inquiries. I said, well, where are you advertising? And he was advertising on this site here called Thumbtack, which is really all about price shopping for your whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's our starting price, which for him was like a 1 hour. He's a DJ. And it's like, if you need him to just show up for your store's grand opening, it was like $200. Yeah. But it says starting price $200. Well, but then you go in and it said starting price for a wedding was like $2,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big difference. That's a big difference. So he's getting all of these really low budget inquiries. Mm-hmm. I say, well, you're fishing in the wrong lake. That's what it is. You're fishing in the wrong lake. So he took an ad on the Knot and Wedding Wire because he wants to be in front of the couples that have a more realistic budget who are looking, and he wants to be where they are.
Yeah.
Right. If I took a billboard, right, I had a beautiful billboard made, and I had them put it out in the middle of a farm field somewhere. Nobody's going to see it. The cows are not hiring me, right? So nobody's going to see it. So what you want that billboard on the busiest road.
Yeah.
And the busiest road with the right people. Not just a busy road, but the busiest road with the right people. So advertising is what gives you the future business, especially for weddings, because they don't call you today and say, I need you on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right? That's the emergency call. My band got sick, came down with COVID, and now I need a new band. But the typical is, I'm getting married in the fall. I'm getting married next spring. I'm getting married in 2023 or whatever it is. And this is an important thing for this year, because once things open up, Brian, and again, fingers crossed for all of us, we're going to start cramming all of that pent-up demand of weddings from last year and early this year into a small period of time.
Yeah.
And when you get busy, what tends to fall by the wayside is administration and back-end stuff.
Yeah.
You have to have your advertising humming along on autopilot so that it's always there 24/7. So if right now, while you and I are speaking, or right now while someone's listening to this, whenever that is, it's like a restaurant menu. Somebody just opened the menu, and you're either on it or you're not. Like if I go to Weddings Online right now, you're either a choice or you're not a choice. So if those are people that hire people like you and pay prices for people that what you charge, why would you not want to be there? And I had somebody say to me the other day, he's a photographer, but his family has a jewelry store. He's up in Toronto, Canada. And he said, I was looking at it was Wedding Wire in Canada, but there's so many photographers there. I said, if you come to New York City, there's a jewelry district. It's a very famous jewelry district in New York City. It's on 47th Street. And there are hundreds of jewelers there, right? Do you not go there? If you're a jeweler, do you say, well, I'm not going to take a booth over here because there's too many jewelers here? Yeah. No, you say, I'm going to take a booth there because people come here looking for jewelry. Right? So for somebody to say, well, I'm not going on to Weddings Online because, you have too many bands there. No, there's bands there because there are couples there looking for those people, right? Exactly, they need a band. That's why they're coming there. And here's the other thing. There are, I don't know, not this year, but in a normal year, what is it, about 25,000 weddings in Ireland?
23 to 25, yeah, in around that.
Something like that. And this year it's going to be 30, whatever.
32.
It is. Right. It's going to be a lot bigger. The biggest in our lifetimes, by the way. Yeah. There will be more weddings this year than in life. So if you think about that, let's just call it 23,000 weddings. How many weddings does your band want to do, Brian, in a year, in a normal year?
I think I'm kind of happy around the 70 to 80 mark.
Okay.
That's where I'm
70
happy.
to 80
yeah.
out of 23,000.
Yeah.
Let's just think about that. 70 or 80 out of 23,000. Yeah. Now, the key is you're not looking for a needle in a haystack, but you are looking for a small piece of that population. You're looking for the ones that appreciate what you're going to do for them and are willing to pay for those results. There are people that will appreciate you do, but they just will not be willing to pay for your results, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get that somebody comes back and says, "Hey, Brian, we love you guys. We love what you do, but the other band is charging €1,000 less."
Yeah.
And the answer to that is, thanks so much for letting me know. If you keep looking around, I'm sure you'll find other prices, some higher, some lower, some even lower than them. But it comes down to this: for your wedding, do you want their price? Or do you want the kind of entertainment and the kind of fun that you know that we can bring?
Yeah.
Because if they could do for you what we can, they'd probably charge the same as we do or more. So do you want our results or do you want their price?
Yeah. As you said, listening to one of your books a minute, it's you're selling the results. That's really what you're selling, isn't it?
Right. Too many people are selling like a bullet point list of, we're going to play music or, for your cocktail hour. We're going to play music for your reception. We're going to do announcements, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can do that. That's why I push the testimonials and the photos. Because if you show me people having a great time, I have a good client here in the States, David Rothstein. He's a band in Chicago. I've been working with him, 2012, almost 10 years now, 9 years. You go to his homepage and there is a packed dance floor. You don't even see the band. Yeah. You just see a packed dance floor at a beautiful venue. Next picture comes by, you see a couple of pieces from the band with a packed dance floor, right? It isn't maybe until the fourth or fifth one, like the third one, you might see the singer who's now waded out into the audience, right? Singing around there, right? You're seeing the results, people having a great time, hands in the air. It's like, woo, we're having a great time here. My favorite picture ever is actually a DJ, but my favorite picture ever was a bride had come up to the DJ booth, and it's shot from behind the DJ. So the camera angle is from behind him. This particular DJ has a sleeve tattoo. So if you know Jimmy, you know that was Jimmy, okay? Yeah. The dance floor is packed, but the bride is standing right there, right in front of him, and looking at him like I'm looking at the camera with her arms out, with that look on her face, like, you are just bringing it to my wedding. The look is just like, thank you, right? And behind her is what he did. And I just love the feeling of that. Like, just imagine, a bride, standing in front of the band. I'm now shooting from behind the band. So there you are. I can see see you on the mic or see you with the sax or whatever. And she's just like, yes, yes, this is happening now. That's what you're selling. And then the testimonials. I challenge everybody to do this. If you go open up whatever your favorite browser is, Chrome or Safari, whatever it is that you use, and Google yourself for reviews, but use what do they call it? A private viewing window or incognito window, right? And the reason is I don't want your cookies to be involved there where it knows where you've gone before. So if you type in the Brian McDermott Band, Ireland reviews, and then find all the places you have it, because that's what people are doing when they're checking you out. And then what I like to do is copy all of your reviews and put them someplace where you can get to them easily. I use Evernote. You could use Google Doc. You could use Word or whatever. I just happen to use Evernote. It's on all my devices. And there's one called Speaking Testimonials. There's Mastermind Testimonials. There's Consulting Testimonials. And I put in, if you send me an email saying, hey, Alan, thanks, it was great, I'm going to copy and put that in there. If you post something on Instagram or Facebook, I'm going to put that in there. And then I have all of this stuff. I've also put, in my case, the person's name, the company name, and their location. Okay, city, state, if it's in the U.S., whatever. So now someone from Waterford had said, Brian, your band was the best decision we made for our wedding. Okay? You don't need the rest of the paragraph that they wrote. You need that line. Yeah. And I want to put that line, and I want to say that that's from, Deirdre from Waterford. Or
I've actually got a cousin Deirdre from Waterford.
There you
Pure
go.
random, yeah.
Pure random. So Deirdre, or you could say Deirdre and then the name of the venue that's in Waterford. So now you get to list the venue name because that could help you as well. Right? So it's all of that kind of stuff, but it adds to your SEO. So you go to my website, right below the big image, which is called the hero image, there's a line there that says, in quotes, the leading international speaker and expert on the business of weddings. And then there's one more line, and then there's 3 testimonials.
Yeah.
Right away. 3 testimonials. And then you go down, there's some more information, more. But the testimonials are in context. So if you're reading about me doing speaking for you for an event, it's a speaking testimonial. If you're reading about me reviewing your website, it's that. Just like on the back of my books, there are testimonials about that particular topic, that particular book. If I, so the key is you want them to see what you could do in terms of results, so that they want those results. So when everybody else is selling a band, you're selling a great time, them having fun, people saying, it was worth every penny, all that kind of stuff. Especially if you do put a pricing page. Imagine this. I go to your pricing page. First thing I see, great image, one image, not a scrolling image, one great image. And then it comes down and says, whether you're looking for something, low key and laid back, or you want it to be a wonderful dance party, or anything in between, our band, whatever name, can do that for you, just as we've done for dozens, hundreds, thousands of couples, whatever, before in Ireland. Our wedding prices range from 1,000 to 10,000 euro, with most of our couples ending up somewhere between 3 and 5. To find out, our availability and to get a quote for your wedding, call us, email us, contact us today, right? So, but then I'm also going to have in there, between those paragraphs, I'm going to have, actually, here's a good one. I've done this with a lot of people, actually, on my website too. Why should you choose the Brian McDermott Band for your wedding? We could give you lots of reasons why, from our extremely talented musicians who are also just nice guys, and the hundreds and hundreds of weddings that we've done. But don't take our word for it. Listen to couples just like you who already did. Yeah. And then single lines, right? But they're different lines. Like one of them talks about it was the best value. One of them says they were so talented. Next one said, my guests couldn't stop raving about them for weeks after. And then the call to action is, if this sounds like how you want to feel about your wedding band, call, email, or contact us today.
Yeah.
And now what did you do? You use their words. And know what's important? Their words include SEO keywords. When they say, we hired the Brian McDermott Band Brian was so great for our wedding, they just said wedding. All right, our wedding band, they said wedding band. Those are all keywords. And then the attribution is, there's Deirdre from Waterford, your cousin, all right? and there's Siobhan from Donegal, and right, you're showing that we're all over these different parts of Ireland as well.
Yeah.
Or show me people from the States that came over and hired you. So here's so-and-so from Chicago in the US, and that also helps your SEO. Yeah. So the key is that most bands, it's like, here's our band, play these videos, listen to our band. Like, okay. And if your video is more than 2 minutes, I'm not going to watch it anyway, right?
And a lot of the promos look the same, to be honest.
You did a promo in a studio. What do you have there? So something else you can do. This is David Rothstein does here in the States. At the end of the wedding, when the guests are going home, the couple is there. He just catches the couple, takes out his high definition camera, and he gets a video. Yeah. He gets a video testimonial. 30 seconds, a minute. Let's just say that some people took the open bar as a personal challenge, right? Some people have done that. So some of them you may not want to share. Maybe you may not. For me, I actually have 3 different microphones that I can use on my phone to get testimonials. Yeah. The first is a handheld, which I almost never use, because when you hand someone a handheld microphone, all of a sudden their hand starts dropping, right? Oh no, that's the second one. The second one is they all become priests and start anointing you. Ryan, it was fantastic. It was absolutely right. It's like, here you go, there you go, right? So this is another one that I have, which is this is an iPhone Lightning connector, and it's a directional mic. Yeah. So plugs right into the phone. And it's supposed to take the sound mostly in front. It's good. It's not as good as a real professional shotgun mic, which really only gets in front. Yeah. And the third one, which is my favorite, is a clip-on lapel mic, a lavalier mic. Yep. And I have 2. One of them that has 2 heads on it, so you could put it on the couple, the bride and the groom, the bride and the bride, the groom and the groom, right? Or I have one single one, and the sound quality, no matter how loud is going on, the sound quality is fantastic. And then all you want to do is, in the moment, say, what did you guys think of the band tonight? And they're going to be just over the moon, right? They're going to be just crazy. Yeah. And what David does is he puts together a compilation, and he takes a few seconds
of each one
of different couples and puts them together. And said, but what's really well done is he'll find a word. like somebody say it was amazing, right? Then it goes to another couple who goes, it was amazing. Goes to another couple said it was absolutely amazing. And then it'll go on to someone else say the dance floor was packed all night, and somebody else says everybody was dancing, right? So he's latched onto those words. It's just really powerful. You can make that 1 minute, and then you say, got a minute? Watch this 1 minute video to see what couples just like you say at the end of their weddings. And then boom, 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 boom. And then the call to action is, if this is how you want to feel about your wedding and your wedding band, call us, email us, contact us.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to start doing that whenever we get back on the road.
Yeah, it's video is powerful.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more thing about video. Put captions on them. 80% of Facebook videos are watched with the sound off.
At work, probably.
Well, just in general, the video comes up and the default is that the sound is off. So some people are just looking at it, or they, maybe they just don't hear it that well because of some noise. Put the captions on. I use a site called rev.com, rev.com, for $1.25 a minute. They do the captions by a real person, not an automated. An actual person does it. It's $1.25. So you think if you have a 1 minute video, it's going to cost you $1.25 or $2.50 or something like that. But it's really powerful. I've started to put it on all of my, video promos and things, because I find myself reading it when I see it on other people. So it's a thing.
So I suppose for all the wedding suppliers that are watching this, that are listening at home, that need help, what kind of services do you offer people? I know you do.
So I
training, masterclass, and where would somebody start, I suppose, would be the question.
Well, you start at my website here, alanberg.com. So if you're watching video over here, it's right behind me. alanberg.com, alanberg.com. I do have on my homepage, and there's a resources page, upcoming classes. So you mentioned master classes and masterminds. Masterminds were the in-person one, and because of COVID, I've created master classes, which are a virtual event. I'm actually doing one tomorrow, which is 15 suppliers. And we're going to go through from the inquiry to the sale. So how to respond to the inquiries, how to follow up. And again, I also do group website reviews, and I do private ones. So I've been doing private ones for the past 10 years, but with COVID, I started adding some group ones, so it's a lower price point. Actually, I've had some people from Ireland, and I've actually had people from all over the world. I had somebody from Australia the other day on one, and I said, "What time is it?" Like for them, because it's a 14-hour time difference from where I am, and it was 2 a.m. And they were getting onto this workshop that I did. It was crazy. So, and then my books as well. So all of my books are on my website, which is alanberg.com. There's a link to shopalanberg.com. If you prefer Kindle, they're on Kindle. If you prefer audio, they're all audio in my voice.
I'm listening to one of them on Audible. Wisdom and the Business of Weddings.
Wisdom and the Business of Weddings. Funny thing about that one, Brian, it's the first book that I've written that you don't have to read front to back.
I love it because I have, the way your phone automatically connects when you sit into the car. So every time I'm doing a school run or something, I'll get 1 or 2 chapters, but you're not, you can pick up again on the next one.
Right, but they're not sequential, so you could say, hey, I want to jump to another one, I like that topic, or you don't feel like I didn't get to read the rest of the book now, right? You got that topic. And I was worried when I wrote it because it's so different from my other books in that way, and that's the thing people tell me they love about it is, hey, I got what I needed, here it is, I did the school run, I got 2 chapters. So they're all there in paperback and Kindle. También todos mis libros disponibles en español, so if you happen to need them in Spanish, they're also there. But really, just if you go to my website, everything is there, alanberg.com.
And then for the group reviews of the website, do you put the group together, or does somebody have to come to you and go, I've got 10 people?
You buy a ticket.
Okay,
you buy a ticket. Now, I have had people come to me and say, hey, could we do one for my group? I have a private group. We don't want to have anybody else in there. That's fine. I've done those as well. Because of COVID, I've just opened these up as a ticketed event. And it's my risk. Sometimes I get 5 people and sometimes I get 10 people. And, that's me. The only time I'll ever reschedule is if I have like 1 out of 10. I'll say, hey, let's do this again another time. Let's do this some other time there. But the idea is, I just wanted to have something at a lower price point, understanding how people are hurting these days. I even do payment plans on them, so it can break it up into 2, sometimes 3 payments with them. So the idea is, you can't benefit from the information if you don't come, and it's kind of chicken and egg. You need the information to make more sales. I get that. So I do these group things for that reason. And some people, I had somebody say to me, Alan, how come you gave away all your ideas in your book? Like Shut Up and Sell More Weddings and Events, that book. How come you gave away all your ideas? I said, well, they're not all of my ideas. It's a lot of my ideas. But it's different hearing it from me. It's different being able to ask that question and say, like, here, let me go deeper into that particular thing, because
I know we've only just skimmed over this stuff today, but that's kind of why I wanted you on the show, because I think definitely here in Ireland morale is a little bit low, because we don't have any way, and there is, I'd have a fear for some wedding businesses that they will start to take their foot off the gas, kind of, and stop some advertising. And
it's a big risk. It's a big challenge. If you had to spend on something, spend on the thing that's going to get you the leads, and then yet you get some deposits, and the deposits give you some money, which then lets to pay for that. And
it is a balancing act, but I think if you want to be here kind of in 2 years' time, you have to do it.
Exactly. And unfortunately, some people are not going to do that, and they're going to go away, and somebody else is going to have to pick up on that. So you want to be the one that benefits. This is not a typical recession. Typical recession, weddings just keep chugging along. But the most successful businesses that I know have leaned into those recessions and have actually increased their marketing dollars, because the people that are pulling back, they're basically handing them that business, right? If less suppliers are on Wedding Online and the same number of couples are coming and looking, it just means more for you.
Exactly. So, Alan, to finish, have you any message of hope for the wedding suppliers listening?
Yes. We've been in this a year, and we're still here. And the couples are still getting engaged. They're still on Weddings Online. They're still looking around online. They still need great stuff for their wedding. You and I, Brian, will be maybe 2 years from now, we'll be sitting having a pint somewhere and talking back about, I remember when. Remember when we did that podcast in the middle of this, right? Weddings are gonna rebound. They really are. We're already seeing that with the engagements. I had a wedding venue. This is a phrase you've never heard, Brian. Okay. Never, ever heard. You will never, ever hear this again. This wedding venue said for 2021, we're running out of Thursdays to sell.
Wow.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
We're running out of Thursdays. You'll never hear that phrase again.
No.
2021 is going to be a crazy year. We get to the end of the year. Again, fingers crossed with the vaccines and all that kind of stuff. And, people will still be cautious and masking and whatever. But by 2023, we're going to be going, oh, yeah, we made it through. We survived. We have got some scars. No question about it. We all have some scars. Like I said, I was away almost half the year in 2019, and all of a sudden I've been home for a year. But yeah, we made it through, and we will continue to make it through. We picked the right industry. I wrote my latest article. If you don't, people are listening, don't get my free articles. connectwithalanberg.com is the way to sign up for that. And this is one, it's just talking about how there's so many things that we've learned, right, from all of this. And some of it is positive stuff. And it's up to us to look at the positives or the negatives. It's what we focus on. It really is up to us to decide. My wife said this phrase yesterday. She saw it. Yesterday is heavy. Put it down. Yeah. And I wrote an article called Yesterday is Heavy, so put it down, because it's up to us. I'm looking at the positives and things opening up and the engagements and the inquiries and stuff like that. If you're not getting enough leads, you have to do something different, right? Put some money into that advertising, even if it hurts, because when the leads start coming, you'll be like, okay, that was worth it. But otherwise, you can just sit back and complain, and nobody wants to hear it anymore.
No, I think we've heard enough complaining.
I think so. I think so there. So, but it's been fun. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on the show. I know you're busy, and I'm looking forward to that pint now. So we'll see around 2024.
I actually prefer the bourbon, but
Okay,
little
well,
Irish
yeah.
whiskey is good too.
Yeah, either.
We can,
All right,
something
Alan.
brown.
Alan, I'll have all the links to the so anybody that wants to get in touch with you, I'll have all the links in the comment sections and all that. So thanks
Terrific.
for coming on, and we'll talk to you later. Stay safe.
Thanks, you too.